Good afternoon and welcome back. This is Louisiana Cooking and Living, and my name is Katie. And again, I am super excited about this meal I'm preparing for you guys today and my family. I'm gonna do this little disclaimer again. I am not good at rolling my R's for these Hispanic words. Birria Tacos. They kind of roll the R's in the middle of that. So that's what we're making today. And again, this recipe, like last week with the enchiladas, comes from Cooking con Claudia, and I will link her videos in the description box. I kind of pulled two of her recipes together to kind of come up with this one, and I'm super excited. I love this dish. I've made it 3 or 4 times. We had a couples fellowship from church here at my house, and I made over 100 of these tacos in one night. It was very fun and exciting. Had a little bit of flames at the end when I was frying the tacos, so that really made it exciting. And anyway, let's just get started and we can just talk through all of this process. Again, like the enchiladas, it is a long process, but you come out with so much meat. You can freeze it and use it again for another meal. I love these kind of things where you can freeze and meal prep for another meal. And just makes it so much easier. If you're gonna cook something for a long period of time, might as well go ahead and do extra and not have to do this process again. Well, for a while, because you're gonna wanna make it again and again. So let's just get started with the meat, and we'll get this cooking. It does take a few hours to cook, and then you can go about your day while the meat's cooking, and then come back and have some yummy meat to fry up into some tacos. So let's get started. Okay, so these are the ingredients we're gonna start with for making our meat itself. So I have my big stock pot, not stock pot, I don't even know what you call this kind of pot. So we have our big pot here, and we're gonna put some short ribs in here. Let's see how many pounds I have here. I have about 2 pounds of short ribs. So these are just beef short ribs. These are gonna give us some good bone broth flavor, and we're gonna need the fat once it renders. So that's what we're gonna fry our tacos in. So we're gonna put these in here. And this is a chuck roast. She says about 5 pounds of chuck roast. And we're just gonna cut this up into big chunks so that it cooks quicker, and when we go to shred it, it'll be easier to shred. So we're just gonna cut these into big chunks and throw those in our pot also. I didn't think my Dutch oven would be big enough for all this, so that's why I'm using this pot instead. All right, I'll move my cutting board to the side. So just in our pot, we are going to be taking these ingredients out, so we don't need to cut them up or anything. So we have 4 Roma tomatoes going in. We have 1 head of garlic, just the whole head, because we're going to pull this out later. A whole onion, again, just throwing. I'm actually going to cut this. This is a huge, massive onion. It was this big, so I cut it in half. You need 1 onion, but I'm going to cut this in half. And then I just had these 2 little peppers in my garden that I needed to do something with. They're kind of getting shrivelly. This is a sugar rush peach pepper, and then my jalapeno turn red. So I'm just gonna throw these in here because we like things spicy. And this is it. We're gonna cover this with water, and this is gonna cook for about 1.5 hours to 2 hours. When it starts getting soft, then we're gonna add the chili sauce to it. So I'll cover this with water, put it on the stove, bring it to a boil, and turn it down to a good simmer, a pretty good simmer. And we'll let this go, and then we'll come back together when it's time to bring the chilies together to put in here to season all this. So we'll be back. I do want to say, and I forgot to do it a second ago, is I'm adding salt to this. Of course, we're going to season our meat up. Why would we not? All right. Just wanted to make sure you realized I was adding salt to my meat. All right, we'll get this on this, put water on this, get this on the stove, and okay, so we are back for the fun part, the part that's gonna give this meat the best flavor. I've had these tacos at different restaurants, and some of them add these unique special blends of spices, and some of them don't. I don't know if they're just afraid that people aren't gonna really like it so much. And when the first time I made these, I was really surprised and I was kind of leery of the spices because it's got cloves and cinnamon and ginger in it. And I'm not a big clove fan, and ginger just a little bit from having like some Chinese food or something. But y'all, this is so yummy and so tasty. So we're gonna get this all together. So in her recipe, she calls for 22 guajillo chilies, 3 pasillas, and 5 chili dar balls. Now my last video with enchiladas, I was making enchilada sauce with the dried chilies, and I'll link that video in the description. What you're gonna do is you're gonna cut the stem off, and then shake the seeds out, maybe cut a little slit in the pepper to clean it out, make sure there's no dirt or debris in there. And then you're gonna put it in a pot of boiling water and let it turn the water off and let them soak for about 30 minutes till they become tender. I've already done that to kind of speed things up. And kind of show you, this is kind of what they look like. They just kind of soften up and get kind of pliable because we're gonna blend these up for our sauce. And what I also did is she calls for a 1-inch stick of cinnamon. And I just set this after the chilies were finished. I'm trying to see where you can see this. After the chilies were finished, I just set it on the water on top of the chilies just to kind of soften it, because her cinnamon sticks, I don't know in the video, they're very crumbly almost, but this one is very hard. Oh, it's very fragrant. I smell it. It smells so good. So I just set it on the water to see if it'll soften that up some. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna get all these, let me back up. The chili darbles are the spicy chili pepper. I ended up putting 7. We like spicy. Like I said, I put a couple of chilies in my meat also. So I put extra ones of those in these peppers that I softened. So I guess we'll turn the camera down. We'll get all these things in the blender. And there's a lot of different ingredients, and we'll talk through them all. So in our blender cup, we're gonna add that piece of cinnamon stick, like I said. We're gonna add all these chilies. We're gonna try and drain most of the liquid off of them. Actually, before I put these in there, because these are soft, I'm gonna put the maybe more harder things down at the bottom. We need, let's see, 8 bay leaves we're gonna put in here. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 bay leaves. We're gonna put 5 whole cloves. We're gonna put 7 garlic cloves and 1 inch of ginger. So I just took my ginger, cut off about 1 inch of it and peeled it. So we're gonna throw all those down in here. 1 teaspoon of black peppercorns. 2 teaspoons of Mexican oregano. Like I said in the other video, the Mexican oregano and the Italian oregano are just slightly different. So if you don't have the Mexican, you can use the Italian. So put that in there. We need 2 teaspoons of cumin. I love the smell of cumin. And this was another, I mean, not that I don't like thyme, but I just thought it was an odd. I thought it was more of a European seasoning. But there are 2 teaspoons of thyme in here also. I love thyme on a chicken dish. And then let me go grab it real quick. It is 2 teaspoons of sesame seeds that you just put in a dry pan and toast them on the stove for 3 to 5 minutes. And so we'll dump those in there. Make sure I have everything. My peppers, bay leaves, cloves, garlic, ginger, cinnamon, sesame seeds, black pepper, oregano, cumin, thyme, vinegar. So we need 1/4 cup of vinegar. All right, throw that in there. And 3½ teaspoons of salt. Finally got my Redmond real salt out. I've been trying to use up my pink Himalayan salt. So I'm using my Redmond real salt now. So 3½ teaspoons. All right. Now I'll throw my chilies in. And what I'm gonna do is grab some of the broth from the roast to put in here to help this all blend better. I'm not gonna use this chili liquid, I guess. I'm gonna use the broth off the stove. So this is a chili adorable, so they are smaller than the Guajillo chilies. I told y'all I can't say these words. There's a difference in them. And this is actually a pretty big one. And I want to research to see what kind of pepper it is before they dry it, because usually these have a different name when they're fresh. I'm wondering if it's a cayenne pepper. All right, that's it. I'm gonna grab a little bit of the broth to add to the blender. All right, this is some of the broth from cooking. And one more thing I'm gonna grab. Okay, these are the tomatoes that we had put in the meat originally. I'm gonna put these in the blender also. When I looked at her 2 different recipes, one of them she cooked the tomatoes with the meat, and the other one she did not cook the tomatoes with the meat. She just blended them up in the sauce. So I thought I'd just kind of split the difference and cook them and then put them in the sauce too. All right, so this is about to get loud, so we will just kind of fast forward through this part. Okay, so I pulled all the meat out of the pot and let it cool for a minute, and I'm starting to shred it. And as I'm shredding it, I'm pulling off any fat or membranes. And we want just the meat, but we want it all shredded up. So I'm gonna go through and shred up all the meat. And then we'll be adding this back to our broth with our chili mixture. And a lot of people, so these tacos, once you cook them, you dip your taco in the broth, what they call it consomme. And quite a bit, I think people eat it also like, or not, I guess eat the broth or the consomme like a soup. And you chop up cilantro and onions and put it in there, fresh cilantro, and then you can have it like a soup. I don't like cilantro. I detest cilantro. I hear that you're either, there's might be a gene associated with it in your DNA, whether you like, either you love cilantro or you don't like it at all. So I am a I don't like it at all person, but I do like the fresh chopped onions. So I'm gonna just go through and shred up all this meat. If there's anything left on the bones from the short ribs, we'll pull that off. And then we'll put this all together and make our yummy tacos. So now we get to the fun part. First, I'm going to add, just in my burners here, sorry. Add my chili paste that we made. All those yummy seasonings. you're going to pour that in with the meat. I shredded all the meat, added it back to the broth. So we're gonna add all this into here. Get all that goodness off. Add some of this broth into here to rinse this out before it mixes in good. So we don't usually eat this so much as a soup. So if you wanted to strain it to make it sure it's good and smooth and there weren't any chili pieces in it, you could do that. But we are fine with it like this. So what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna let this sit for a minute to kind of separate the fat from the broth part, so that we can ladle that off, because that's what you actually use to cook your tacos in. So I'll let this sit for a minute and then we will ladle that off. Okay, so I have my griddle preheating right here. We have our meat, we have our cheese. I'm gonna show you this again. I've used this cheese before, queso Oaxaca. This is a very melty cheese. I get this in, I get it at Walmart here at my location. They have it like in Mexican markets. It's not all Walmarts, it's just at some here and there. If you can't get this, you can use a mozzarella or a Monterey Jack. But this is what we like to use. So, and I have my corn tortillas. So what I did was I ladled off the top, and of course, you know, fat separates. So we have our fat here, and this is like the broth that came up. And we're gonna spoon the fat off of this to cook our tacos on the griddle. So I'm gonna dip this, and we'll just use this on the griddle. I'm gonna put our tortillas on here, kind of coat both sides. We'll spread some cheese on it. And then we'll take the meat and put that on there. And then you could put a little bit more cheese on that meat if you'd like. All right, and these tortillas will cook until they get slightly crispy. All right, I'm gonna use a ladle to dip some of the broth to be able to dip my taco in. And then I just have some chopped onion here because I'm not a cilantro fan. I'll just drop some chopped onion in my broth, and I'm also going to put some on my taco. I'm gonna fold these over. I may have overstuffed them. All right, we're gonna flip them over. All right, I think we're ready to pull them off. Flip them over one more time just to check the other side. All right, we're going to put our consomme in here. And there we have, if you want to put cilantro, of course you could put cilantro, some hot sauce, queso, crema if you want to use crema. This is the way I like to have them. So we're going to give it a taste test. All right, so here we go. These are super yummy, super flavorful, so cheesy. It's going to be messy. We're gonna get a bite. Hot too. Dip it. It is so good. Let me see if I can get a close up of the inside of our taco, their cheese. It's so good. I hope y'all give this recipe a try. Let me know what you think if you do, or when you do, because you really should try this. I know it takes a good bit of time to cook it, but it's not hard. It's just time is all you need. Thanks for watching today, and we will be back next time. And if you like to follow along, just hit subscribe. And like I said, I'll link those videos in the bottom, the description. Claudia's videos where she makes this. I'll link my enchilada video where I show you how to clean out the peppers. And I'm not sure if there's another video I need to link, but when I rewatch this, I'll see what I need to link, and I'll leave links in the bottom. And we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.